Hello and welcome to another webinar from the Accountants Mastermind. My name is Mark and I'm here today with Karen Richardson from Reviewit. And Karen's going to talk to you about how her software will save you time reviewing completed accounts files to ensure your time is freed up doing the things that you should be doing, running your practice. Say hello, Karen.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, and let's get started. I'd like to hand you over to Karen Richardson from Reviewit.
Thanks, Mark. As Mark knows, I've been a Mastermind member for over 6 years now, and I'm afraid this software sat on my action list with Simon for over a few months before we actually managed to get it to a stage where it was usable by external people. I prepared a PowerPoint to go through with you to show you the benefits of the system and what it can do and what you can get from it. And then we'll have a look at a live site with the actual forms on it and how it interacts. I'm happy, as Mark said, to take questions as we go along and anything that springs out that you want to ask about. If you just give me a second, I will share my screen and we'll get started. Okay, so Strapline, smart way to review accounts, which hopefully you'll see the benefits of as we work through the presentation. So where did it start? I've been an accountant for over 40 years in practice. At the early part of 2021, I lost my practice manager. She went off sick from a result of COVID, which meant that reviews fell back to me for a time being. I'm sure we've all been there reviewing junior members' work, thinking, why have they not done a box 6 VAT reconciliation? Why have they not done a wages control? And I went on holiday, sat on a boat on the Norfolk Broads, and rather than enjoying myself on the boat and boating holiday, I was thinking about all the jobs building up in the office that I was going to have to review and all the tiresome review points that I was going to have to go through before I could start putting benefit into the actual reviews and thinking about tax planning and what the client could do to maximise profits. My husband's background is a quality control manager, and he sort of came up with the initial idea of the interactive review that we've now created. That allows junior members to self-review their own work and junior managers to have a framework which they can build on to learn to review jobs. Hence, Reviewit came onto the market. After my team have used it for about 8-9 months and use it sort of on a day-to-day basis, I asked the team what they felt they'd got from the software. And I think some of the key points that they bring up here is that small details can be missed. They don't miss them on purpose. They miss them because they're busy. They might have got a different type of job to do. And as they've said, correcting those mistakes as part and parcel of the review takes up a lot of time. So using the checklist, they found that they can sit back from the job, look at it and appraise what they've done. We also find it's a good learning and training process for new AAT, ACCA trainees, as it gives them a framework to work to. Again, they said errors, they pick up on that they're repeated errors and it makes their work more consistent. And also we find that everybody is now following the same process, the same standard, same review, and every file's being completed as it should be. Working papers. I mean, I know a lot of you probably use interactive working papers, the likes of Xero and things like this, but it's not here to replace working papers. We all know that working papers can have figures on them that might not necessarily carry through. I mean, a colleague of mine said that, pointed out that he'd got a trainee they've done a wages reconciliation and put the wages to the director's loan account rather than putting the wages to the profit and loss. It's this sort of thing that the review process is meant to sort of help to make sure it doesn't happen. So we're saying it's a systematic reviewing process. What's the benefits that you should get from it? Consistency. As I've said, the files are all completed to the same consistent standard, which improves the quality of your work. You know that the basic work has been checked. It saves time. I mean, I wouldn't like to think of how much time I've spent over the years writing down the same review points, the same simple review points that should be common practice on an accounts preparation file. So it's saving your manager's time, and I think it's also saving juniors' time because they're not having to go back and correct that work that they've not done correctly. Saves money. I mean, that obviously comes about of saving time. You're saving more expensive manager time by the junior correcting the work themselves. Reputation, I suppose, on the basis of that, you're not finding errors that can cause issues with clients down the line. Setup. I think this is a question that actually came up pre the webinar. How easy is it to set up? Must admit, I hate complicated setups. It's one of my pet hates, and I just find it's a waste of time in trying to getting a new piece of software and then spending hours setting it up. I can guarantee, and I'll go through the process with you in a minute, that this can be set up really quickly. Obviously, it depends how many team members you've got. If you're a huge practice with lots of team members, then the time will be there in setting the team members up. But even so, it is a very quick setup. So when you sign up to the software, pay the fee, you're automatically taken to a login to create your user login. And the first thing the software prompts you to do is to actually set your company up. Apologies if anybody on here is called Brown & Co Accountants. I just picked a name out that I could use as a trial name. So to start off with, obviously, you'll put your company name in, save the company name, put your logo in, save the logo. Your profit and loss form variance and your gross profit variance are there for you to set as a practice what your tolerance levels are on discrepancies from one year's accounts to the other. Everybody's tolerances will vary. You set what you as a practice would expect to be investigated. These flow through to the profit and loss form, which I'll show later. And whatever tolerance you set in there, you would then expect the staff member to look at the variances to see the reason why those variances have occurred. Initially, when you sign up, you're just there as the admin member, so you need to add your team members, which is done at the bottom of this form. You can see here that we've added team members in here. You've 3 levels of team members. You've got the company admin, who's the person, probably the practice, the manager, the practice manager, or even the owner of the company. Depends who you deem to be responsible for the software. Then you've got a company reviewer. That is somebody who would review other people's work, and company member. These levels can be changed. So in the actions tab in there, you'll see in the software, you can promote somebody to a manager level, or you can take somebody back down to a user level. There's also different access rights for different types of users. As soon as the members are created, they get an email to set their own login, and you're then into the actual software itself with the 4 forms at the moment that can be used. So you have your profit and loss form, your balance sheet, the tax review form, and a final accounts review form, which is just basically a checklist of final items to put on the file. Just to point on the tax review forms, it's not a fully complex tax review. We are aiming this software at juniors, preparing probably their first tax computations. So it's trigger points for certain items that should be in there. That is something that we are looking at to take it a stage further later on this year, but at the moment it is a basic review form. On here, you can see the number of forms that have actually been created in that company, how many are being worked on, how many are your forms to review, and how many are other staff members to review. Once a form has been completed, and we'll look at that when we get onto the test site, you would have across the bottom here all your managers. So in this test example, I've just got one manager and one user, but you may have 5 client managers, you may have 3 client managers. So the user would pick which manager is going to review the form for you. One of the new options is that the manager can be changed. You got a question for me, Mark?
Yeah, sorry, I was actually going to wait until you'd finished. Mark has asked, are tax review forms for limited companies or individuals?
There's an option on it to select what type of review form has been done. So is it a limited company, is it sole trader or a partnership? And dependent on the option picked, different questions would appear on the tax form.
Excellent, thank you. And then he's just asked another one. Are there plans to bring in other forms, e.g. VAT return reviews?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the questions we've had is how long is it updated? We're planning on 2 or 3 updates a year. So yes, that review form would be one that we would bring in as extra ones, and we sort of look at what users want. And obviously, if it's possible and there's enough people want it, then we would look at bringing those extra forms in as well. We had to start with some basic forms, and to be honest, I started with the ones that annoyed me the most, the ones that gave me the most pain and reviews. So that's where it started from. But yeah, the plan is to develop it to other items as well.
Brilliant, thank you.
Okay. So as saying there, you would have various users, client managers on there. There is an option now in the software, which has just become a new development, that you can switch the manager. Initially, you couldn't change the manager once it had been set, but we have now updated that. So let's say a manager's chosen, that manager goes on holiday and the job's urgent for review. You can switch the manager to somebody else. Once the manager button has been clicked, the system generates an email to that manager to say the form is ready for review or the job is ready for review. As I say, it is interactive, the software, so it goes by emails to notify of reviews. Once the review has been completed, an email will go back to the user to say that the form was ready for them to look at the review points and take it further. This shows the different views that are available. As a user, you can only see the forms that you've created. So you'll see the top half of the screen shows the companies or the jobs that they've put in for review and who it's gone to. The bottom form shows an admin stroke manager's view, in the fact that they can see how all the forms affected. So they can see their forms plus the user's forms, anything that's responsible for. The progress bar shows where a review is up to. So obviously the green tick means the job's completed. We've probably created a PDF, which I'll show you, and it's on file and the job's done. There is another pencil tick, which isn't available on here. I can show you that later, which shows it's been saved as a draft. The yellow ones obviously show that it's in process somewhere. So it's either gone from a user to a manager for a review or a manager to a user for review. This shows, and this could be a lot longer than this or a lot shorter than this. This shows the activity, the audit log on the forms themselves as part of the process. So it shows the form was created, it shows review queries were raised, it shows answers to the review, and then it shows that the final PDF has been created. These are maintained on the system in the file and obviously can be printed out, kept on the file, or you can keep them on the actual software itself. We've also now got an option to delete the form. So it may be that you keep the forms on there for, I don't know, 12 months or whatever you want to do, and then delete them so that you don't end up with hundreds and hundreds of reviews on the actual system. There isn't any limit, by the way, on the number of reviews that can be done or the number of users that can be put on it. So you could keep, if you wished, 4 or 5 years worth of reviews on there. There's a search filter on it, so there's no reason why not, but obviously you'd have to consider as a practice whether that was something you wanted to do. Once the job has been, the review forms have been done, it's been reviewed by the manager's happy and it's approved, a PDF is created. This isn't a full PDF, I've cut it down so we could just get a one-page view on it. But effectively it shows the process that you've got there. Obviously your logo, you can see where that is now coming from in there. It shows who's done the job. These just say created by manager, but obviously those would have your staff name on them if relevant. It shows what's been approved, what action's been done, and also shows any planning or action points for the client and any queries. The topics here actually has just been missed off actually. The top box on the far right shows points that need to be discussed with the client. So you've got the client points on there and you've also got the any action points as well. Go on, Mark.
Me again.
Yeah.
So I've got another question. Are the questions fixed or can you customize, i.e. add or delete to them?
Okay, the questions at the moment are fixed. As part of the upgrade we've just done, there was the intention to put customizable section into it. He didn't get a chance to do that. Our IT consultant who's building this didn't get a chance to do those, but it's on the next tranche of work to be done. So there will be the option then to actually put bespoke questions into it. The only thing we're just working out at the moment is where's the best place to put them. So do we put them in the setup or do we put them at the end of the forms? Because we've got to decide how they fit into the logical process of it. But yes, that will be something that is on the list to be done.
Excellent. And I just noticed a question in the chat, as I said before, just make sure you put them in the Q&A because I almost missed that one. But Jem has asked, are you able to upload all client details into the system?
No, you would put the process of the system is not to put all the client details in there. Effectively, it's working as a standalone package. There is plans that we may link it in with some type of work papers further down the line. But at the moment, the only data you're putting in there is the client name. Another thing that is on the development thing, which will be in the next thing, is for it to automatically calculate KPIs. You'll see when we do the form that we put gross profit in there to calculate gross profit percentages. And at the moment, the staff calculate those themselves. But there is a plan that we will produce a KPI sheet that shows your automatically calculated data on gross profits. Now, whether that's done by a CSV import into it or whether it's done by manually putting figures in, that's not yet actually been decided.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. Right, need more convincing. Well, these are the benefits that we've seen from it and we feel that are part of benefits of the system. It is an evidence of internal review. You can see that there is a PDF on file and the job has been reviewed by somebody. So you've got that quality control. We feel it very much provides a roadmap for trainees and junior staff or less experienced team members. They've got something to follow. The fact that we can now save them as a draft means that they can start that as part and parcel of them compiling the file, work their way through it to make sure that they've got all the relevant schedules completed and that they're in the right place and the logic agrees with them. It provides training evidence. So, I mean, your audit trail at the bottom of the sheet shows the review points done. You would hope that as a staff member progresses through their training, the number of viewpoints would cut down. So you could use that as part and parcel of a training evidence for junior staffs. Another thing that our team members have said is that if you've got new portfolio or client managers who haven't reviewed jobs before, it's a good starting point for them. They know they've gone through the process, they know the evidence of what's required, and they can start looking beyond it. It makes them aware that they have to self-review and look at what they're producing rather than just churning out a job. Again, this just really repeats the first point that it provides documentary evidence that a job review has been completed and a PDF copy can be put on every digital file.
Hi, sorry.
It's all right. All right.
Hitton has asked, is the data all stored and backed up on the cloud?
Yes. it is, and it's completely separate. So there's security settings between each person's sign up. So what one person has on there, it's backed up, and there's a cloud backup of that done by an external. The server is UK based as well.
Brilliant, thank you.
Okay, so key savings, it's a one-off annual cost. It covers all your employees and all your staff. I know somebody asked whether there was a lower price for smaller practices. It's not, we don't feel it's expensive. If you look at it, I mean, this is, some obviously firms will have a lot less clients than 700 and a lot less staff of 10, but at that it works out at 8p per review. And I mean, these days you can't get much for under £1, can you? So if you look at it, the price of the actual reviews, and I think peace of mind and time saving is worth it. The standard price is £495, but we are doing a 30% discount off that for Accountant Club members, which I believe Mark will put the details of that in the notes as we're going along. Okay. The new features which I've covered in Jen, we can now save the form as a draft. Tax return sheet can now be used for individuals. So if you've got somebody who's just got a rental property, personal tax return, the sheet can be used on an individual basis rather than for a trader or a limited company. The reviewer can be changed. I mentioned that earlier. So now there is an option at the top of each sheet to change the reviewer once it's been sent for review. All forms can be deleted by company admin. We've got stretch facility on all the comment boxes now, so that when you're doing the review points, if you want to put the full review into the box, you can stretch the box so the full review is actually visible as you type in. I found a few issues with that, is that although you could type it all in, you couldn't see what you'd put before. So that stretching has made the review process a lot easier. And forms can now be used. We can put a date on for monthly or quarterly reviews if we wanted to use it on that basis as well. Okay, I'll just come out of that and I will switch on to the actual software itself.
Karen, sorry, I have had a couple of questions on the pricing, but what I'll do is I'll let you get on with a demo and we'll go through those at the end. So if you've asked some questions about the pricing, I will come back to that, but I just wanted to let Karen get the demonstration through and then we can go through that.
That's fine, of course. Right, so I think, as I mentioned, as part of the process, once a review sheet is completed, it comes to the manager by email. I've set a few dummy emails up in Gmail so I can use it for presentation, because as you can imagine, it's quite difficult switching from one to another. So your email will come through for review. If you click on your form, it will take you to the sheet that needs reviewing, so you're automatically in there. You don't need to do it that way. You can actually just go to the balance sheet. You could filter and say, my forms to review, and it will come up that way and you can click through. So then there's a number of ways of accessing it to be able to do the review. These show all your reviews that you've got to do. As we said before, this one shows that job has actually been reviewed. This has been sent for review, and this is the one that I got the email on. So the user has completed the form, they've gone through, they've answered the questions that they think are relevant in there. As part of the review process, you would go through that, see whether it made sense. I mean, as with anything, any checklists or anything that are completed, there can be an element of people ticking just to say that they've done it. So obviously you do still, in some cases, possibly need to self-check. I think one of the questions is, have fixed asset additions been agreed? Is there a copy of the schedule on file? You know, certain things you might want to check. So that's your review there. You have the option at the bottom here to approve the form. So if you approve the form, you put a note on, job completed, well done. You can put comments on there for the staff on how they've approached the job, and that would create a PDF, or you can request changes. As I said here, you can expand the box to create the review as big as you wanted. If we created request changes in there and confirm request changes, that would go back to the user as an email for them to deal with the review on the actual form. One question we've been asked is why we don't have it all as one form, because if you'll see here, we have a profit and loss review and we have a balance sheet review. So it's filled in on that company twice. We find that's useful because it helps them to think about the job more. So a balance sheet review is more about the schedules completed and what's in there. Your profit and loss review is more about looking at what's in the accounts. Do they make sense? Have you looked at the variances and what is the reason for the variances they've given? I filled this dummy data in here, so it doesn't actually probably make much sense, but effectively that's what you're looking for. You're looking for them to have addressed the queries. You know, have we got unrecorded income? You know, how have they treated unrecorded income? What results we expect from it. Here we're putting the turnover and the figures in, and this is where we're saying we're hoping that the next stage on the KPIs, a separate sheet will be created with these percentages in. Sorry, Mark.
That's okay. I was waiting for you to finish. Greg has asked, can you remove questions from the form?
Not at the moment, but we could look at doing that as part and parcel of adding the questions in. So yeah, at the moment, no, the forms are there, the questions are there, and they do actually have to complete all the questions on the form, otherwise it won't let them save it. So one of the things I was quite insistent was that each question had been answered, because if you don't make it compulsory that questions are answered, you might miss key questions that should have been answered.
Yeah.
So no, the answer to that is sorry, no, at the moment you can't take questions out, you have to leave them in, but there's nothing to say that they can't complete them, yes, no, and then in the comments box put question 4 is not relevant to this particular client. It at least means that they've thought about it and whether it's relevant or not.
Okay. And Mark's asked, is it just a yes or no option, or is there an NA option, as it's not all questions?
There is an NA option. If we look at the balance sheet review, we create a new form down here. If we look at fixed assets here, as a fixed asset schedule when completed, not applicable. So there are not applicable questions in there. Have all loans and HP accounts been balanced? Not applicable, because the client might not have loans and HP. So yeah, that's possible to do in there.
Excellent, thank you.
Right. I'll just show you the type of interaction. It looks like you've just got one set of questions on here, but as you can see here, if we were to look at, let's say, VAT registration, is the client VAT registered? No. But it then prompts a question. Does the business turnover exceed the VAT registration threshold? I mean, how many times have you got a job from a trainee with a turnover is 100k and they're not VAT registered? Has anybody sort of prompted that out? You would hope that more senior staff have, but maybe more junior staff may not do. If you go yes, it then brings up a series of questions with regards to VAT. So has a VAT control account been done? No, then please complete one before you carry on. So as you can see, the form interacts with the questions that's been asked so that you end up with a complete file. Are there VAT errors? Yes. So we want to know the percentage of the VAT errors, why they've occurred. Another one to look at is staff. No, if we don't employ staff, then there's no other questions. Yes, if we do employ staff, we then get a series of questions that come up with, as a wages control done, does it balance? Have we agreed directors' wages to the profit and loss total? Things like that. So you can see there they do interact. Is the business a limited company? No. Then it will be, have we done appropriate schedules for drawings, capital introduced, and have we verified sources of capital introduced? If yes, are the dividends in the accounts? Is the loan account overdrawn? Is the balance sheet insolvent? Questions like that that you would, on a final review, want to know. On a profit and loss, if we create a new one there, is there a variance on 4%? And this 4% obviously is the bit that you're setting as a practice owner. Yes, then we want to know the reasons. We want to know why repairs are 60,000 this year compared to 10,000 last year, or we want to know why travel's 40,000. You know, the general expenses there in there. Profit and loss items, you know, again, the reason there, sorry, I was telling you the profit and loss variances there, but GP ones, you know, have they had a sale of products? What's the reason? We also link back to, you may well have your own internal software disclosure checklist. So has one of those been completed? Okay. Tax review, as we said, it's a basic review on this done. But this is, the screen here is what you would see if you had no forms whatsoever on any category. So when you first set that up, you create your first form and you're into your forms there, and you would then get a checklist. Client name, year-end date, obviously it's going to be 5th of April, or 5th of April, it's an individual. So here we've said here, limited companies, partnership, sole trader, individual. So we look at individual, that will have individual questions relating to rental income. Sole trader will have questions with regards to private use adjustments, CIS tax, things like that. It's not intended to be a complex tax review at this stage. It's a basic tax review to make sure that the main points have been covered by a trainee completing the first types of tax return forms. Mark, I think that unless anybody's anything specific they want to see on the form, goes through sort of the general overview of what's there and how it works.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So we have got some questions that's come up about, is there a trial period before payment?
No, there isn't. But if somebody wasn't happy with it, I would be happy to refund and cancel. So I think it's not something I think you can trial, to be honest. It's something that there you can use it. I don't believe it's expensive compared to other software in the marketplace. But as I say, if somebody just said, no, it's absolutely, I hate it, I'm not going to use it, we'd just refund.
Thank you. And Jason has asked, is the discount a one-off or each year for every year?
The discount at the moment is a one-off, which is to the 6th of May, I think, didn't I say, Mark?
Yeah, I think
thereafter, there is a standard 10% discount for Accountant Club members, which will be available on renewal.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, Michelle has just put the link in the box now, and with the code of, so it's Mastermind 3 to get your 30% discount, and as a community member ongoing after that, there is a 10% discount. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Excellent, thank you very much. So yes, if anybody has got any other questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A. I will go through the questions that we have had from when people have signed up. So do you spend a lot of time building into the software at the beginning? I think you've pretty much covered that. You said about 15 minutes, I think, would you say, for?
Yeah, I mean, if that, to be honest, I mean, I'm logged in as manager here, so I can't see it. If I was logged in as the company admin, I would have an option here to actually add further members. So I would be able to alter the profile. As a manager or a user, you can't change the new members or anything. But as a company admin, you'd have a further option on here, which allowed you to change your logo, change your name if applicable, add new members, change access rights for those members, and delete users, obviously, if they've left the practice.
Excellent. And Gem's put in the chat box again. Thank you, Karen. Do you know what time frame will be to upload your own questions?
I would say probably end of June. He's just finished one tranche. He's got another 2 items, so we're probably a couple of months. It tends to work a couple of months cycle to actually put those in place. Excellent,
thank you. Michael asked, does it work with Xero work papers? I think you covered that there was no integration.
There's no integration at the moment. That is something a couple of people have asked about, so it was something we'll look at. I don't think it will be in the next upgrade, but possibly something towards the end of the year.
Okay.
I would say, though, this is possibly me being, we have our own work papers, and I just feel that there is benefit in this being standalone, because by standalone, it becomes more of a review, sit back and review what you've done, rather than if it's integrated with the work papers, it becomes part and parcel of the job. And I think for this to be effective and for people to learn to move on and develop, they need to stand back from what they've done. So by doing this separate to the work papers, it does provide that break and allow them to reflect on the work that they've actually done to make sure it's right.
Yeah, completely agree, because you could be in it, can't you, and just go, yes, I've done that, and then actually miss something.
But if you've got to log out, log in and put the answers and look at what you've done, it's a different process. It's a completely different process and different mindset.
Excellent, thank you. How deep does the tax checklist go into? Will it prompt the doers to look for certain tax planning opportunities?
No, because it's not designed for tax managers. It's designed for trainees to get a job to a certain standard. We have looked and will look at whether we expand that tax review to an advanced tax review sheet, which might look at tax planning options. But at the moment, that is just a basic review. Have they covered the main basic points that somebody would need to do on a limited company, partnership, sole trader or individual basic comp?
Excellent. Tanya asked about how easy it is to tailor the software for client-specific items, which I think again is coming back to that. Greg has asked, can you show us the final accounts review briefly?
I can. As I said, that is purely just a checklist. So basically, it's client name, what period you're doing, and have you got a copy of these items on file. So it's not interactive, that one. It's mainly a checklist of what's actually there to make sure that the final items have actually been put on file.
Thank you. This one was my favourite question, actually, which was from Kim, because I think this is a real big insight. I know you covered a little bit at the beginning, but what is the biggest benefit to using this software, and how did it change your practice life?
It meant I wasn't frustrated by doing client reviews, by forever writing down the same review point. Where is the VAT control? Where's the copy of the fixed asset invoices on file? I know as staff get more advanced, they'll do that as a matter of course. But if you've got a practice that's got AAT trainees or first level ACCA trainees, they don't always know that, or they do know it. But if they're pushed and rushed on a job, or it's a more complex job than they are, they forget. We all forget things, you know. So it saves me time on that and allows me, one, to do a review quicker because I know that it's been done, and it also allows me confidence that I can let the client managers do the reviews as well, because I know that they're reviewing it to a certain standard, so that they're covering the basic points in there that would affect the you know, whether something is right or wrong, really. So it's freed up time for me and also cut down my frustration significantly on reviewing jobs. And you know, Mark, sometimes I'm not that patient of people.
Well, yes, I mean, I couldn't possibly say, but so it's creating a consistent level of work review,
yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's right. So you know that all your files in the office have been completed to a certain standard and are correct, and that all the key parts of that job have been done as they should be done. And they have started to reflect on why things are different this year to last year, which they wouldn't normally do, may not do. Some would, but some wouldn't. Yeah.
I think there's a massive opportunity for people that struggle to delegate these kind of things as well, isn't there? Because it's the control that we don't want to give away. And I think this enables you to give control away, but still know that it's going to be done to a...
Yeah, that's right. I think, and as one of Simon's favourite words is bottlenecks, isn't it? I suppose it removes the bottlenecks in the practice, because if you're there and you're the person who's got to get all those jobs out, that there's a limit, isn't there? There's a limit what you can do, you know. So by doing this, it allows you to flow the work out. So we have a client ranking A, B, C, D. C and D jobs are reviewed by a manager. I don't see them now. I don't see the C and D unless they've got any queries on them. They cross-review their own. If a trainee's done a job, which is an A or B, the manager will review it, and then I would do a secondary review on an A or B. But it has cut out a vast proportion of work and allowed work to flow more quickly through the practice.
Yeah, I'm just going to stop that. Brilliant. So Greg has also asked, are the quarterly review and monthly reviews the same as yearly?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think as part of our next thing, there may be more questions that need to be asked as part of a quarterly and monthly review. So we may tailor those sheets slightly to bring in other points. But at this moment in time, we haven't done that. We've just enabled it so that they could be used for that purpose if they wanted to be.
Brilliant. Well, so there's no more questions apart from this one, which I debated whether to ask.
Go on.
But I think there's a potential brilliant answer to it. But is Reviewit just a checklist?
No, it is a checklist. You're quite right, but it's a checklist that's interactive, and somebody has to complete and think about what they're doing before they can finalise the sheet. I didn't show on the review actually that if you miss a question out, it will come up with a big red banner. Please complete the form before submitting. So they can't half complete it. They have to complete it in its entirety, which means thinking about what they've done and putting the right answers in there.
Yeah, and I think that's, for me, from my understanding for today, that's one of the biggest things, is that you're taking yourself away from the work. So you're saying about working paper, so you're physically doing the work, and then you're taking yourself away and going, right, okay, so we almost, moving over here and going, what is it that I need to do? And you've got the checklist, so you're taking yourself out of the job, which I think is massive. And as you've said, it's a time saver.
We forget that we all had to do that as trainees. I mean, I've been in practice for 40 plus years, so you think back to when you were first doing the job, the number of review points you used to get on a job for silly things that you've done wrong. But I just think it allows to get to the stage where they can review, they have to sit back and look at what they've done. Right, not just churn. And I think this gives them the starting point to be able to do that. I'm not saying it's the be all and end all. I'm saying it's the starting point to sit back and review what you've done. Yeah,
and I think the opportunity to train people off the back of what the review points are is also for me. It's so much more than just a checklist. It's got other aspects that you can use it for.
Use it for training, use it for team development. There's a lot of things that you can get out of it rather than just ticking a few boxes and sticking it on a file. You can do that, that's fine, but I would say use it to build on the team experience, to get the team up to a level, and to cut your work down, basically.
Yes, and frustration.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, there isn't any more questions.
Okay.
Unless there's anything else you want to add in, Karen. Michelle's just put the link back in.
Yeah, as I say, the discount is there, 30% up to the 6th. If anybody's got any queries that they want to address to me, there is an email address, contact@reviewitaccounts.co.uk. Michelle could perhaps put that in. If there's any specific questions, I'm happy to sort of drop you an email or anything. And if anybody wants to know anything else that I've not covered, just let me know.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you very much. It leaves me to say thank you for everyone for joining us and asking your questions. These webinars only work because of the questions you ask. So thank you very much for joining us, and thank you again, Karen. And it's good to see you. And we'll perhaps see you at. We can also see more about it at.
I'm at Accountex actually. So we're in the startup zone at Accountex. SU6, I think it is. From memory.
Although the discount would have expired by then.
It would, yes, it would, I'm afraid. Yes. And I've also got the, I shall say, I'm looking sort of a speaking slot for 10 minutes in the FinTech studio on the Thursday. So I'm not saying I'm looking forward to that, but there we go.
Sure you'll smash it, but brilliant. Yeah. Yes, thank you very much.
All right, thanks very much, everybody, for your time.
No, speak to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you for watching our webinar with Karen Richardson from Reviewit. Hopefully you will have seen how Reviewit software can help you and your practice be less stressed, save time, improve your team's training program and also their experience if they are trainees, or if you're wanting them to do any kind of reviews within your work. Helps you delegate it a little bit more. Below on the screen somewhere here, you will see the videos that we suggest that you watch next. Please remember to like and subscribe to our channel to ensure you don't miss any of our fantastic webinars, videos, and insightful knowledge for accountants. Thanks for joining us.